Good morning. Hello. Happy Wednesday. I am Melissa Agnes, and this is Morning Lives with Melissa Agnes, a daily space to help leaders just like you stay grounded and connected to your inner strength, your inner resilience, your vision, your mission, your purpose, why you are here and the mountains you are here to move. You are doing work that matters. And what I do every morning is I show up here live on LinkedIn and IG at 9 a.m. Eastern to help you to do my best to help you lead with unwavering steadiness, especially when it's challenging, increased clarity, especially when there's so much ambiguity and uncertainty and unknowns and questions that are on your shoulders to answer, and deeper connection to yourself, connection to source, whatever name you want to give that, and connection to those you are leading. So if that sounds like something that you want to be a part of, then come and join me here every weekday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern, unless I'm traveling, for one anchoring message or perspective that it aims to inspire, motivate, empower, give you a remembrance, and then one anchoring coherence drop-in where you get into alignment, you get into clarity, you deepen into your vision, your potency, your resonance, so that you can lead the rest of your day in your highest power. There is a lag for that. I apologize, especially on LinkedIn. On IG, it is less, but on LinkedIn, it is real, and I'm so sorry for that. We're trying to figure that out. But I do see you. I am here. If you leave me questions or comments in the chat, please do. Like if you're called to do that, please do. I love hearing from you guys. And my ask is that if I say something that resonates with you, and you know of a leader who would benefit, then please share it with them. Please share the live, the recording. These recordings are on LinkedIn, they are on YouTube, and they are streamed wherever you listen to your podcast. All you have to do is search for Morning Lives with Melissa Agnes. Okay, today I was sitting down and I was thinking of what I wanted to talk about and share with you, and core values came really strong to me. So I want to talk about core values. And this is today what I'm going to do is I'm going to share a thought with you. And I invite you to reflect on this for yourself and then to do the exercise that I just did this morning that I'll talk about, because it's so grounding, it's so anchoring, it's such a great remembrance, and it deepens your connection and your knowing of yourself, which ultimately deepens your leadership capabilities and capacity. And so core values, right? I'm not talking about your company's core values or your mission or your brand, your organization. I am talking about your core values as a human being and as a leader. So your core values, if you don't understand the deeper operating system inside of you, which your core values are, and I'll get to that in a second, then how can you lead from alignment? Your core values, here's how I feel about them. My corest of core value, I'll just kind of make this real with examples. My corest of core values is truth. And I'm not talking about truth like opinion or blunt honesty that it lacks compassion or is simply just an opinion or is ego-driven. I am talking about ontological truth, like the truth of the truth, the core truth of things, of anything. For me personally, there's this feeling inside of me of like, I'm constantly looking and searching for truth. Even when it's hard to hear or challenging, it's still, for me in my nervous system, truth helps me feel safe because it's undeniable and it's something you can bank on and it's something you can lead from and it's something that can guide you and support you and lead you in a more aligned direction. And so truth for me, and maybe I'm doing a poor job of explaining that, but it's so deeply ingrained. Like if somebody is dishonest or if somebody is untruthful or opinionated and mistaking that for truth, because opinion and truth are not the same thing, not always the same thing, it irks me. It's like so against my core values. And I can feel that in my bones. I can feel that in my being. So that tells me that truth is, for me personally, my corest of core values. So it is my guiding compass. So truth might not always be comfortable, but for me, it's the safest place to stand And leadership begins with the courage to face truth. Like that is a truth for me. And so when we understand, when we define and really get with ourselves to define what our core values are as a human being, they become our internal compass. They become so when leaders don't define, let's go there, don't define their core values, they end up borrowing values from the environment around them. And most people aren't stable they aren't anchored, right? And visionary leaders are anchored. We talk about this all the time. And you don't want to be susceptible to the wobbliness of those around you, or the uncertainty of the environment, or the changing facets of the environment that's around you. So that's when your alignment gets lost. That's when people and leaders fall and when they fail, because they didn't have that clarity and they didn't have that commitment, that promise of self, to stay in alignment with their core values, which is the truth of who you are at the core of what you believe in and what you want for yourself, for the world, for your community, for your organization, etc. So your core values are so important to identify. They also help you, and I teach this at Crisis Ready. We teach this as part of how do you navigate through uncertainty? How do you lead through things like controversy, right? You have to know what your core values are in order to lead through something like controversy. And there's so much controversy in our world. And that can be destabilizing. And that can make a leader be wishy-washy, because sometimes we want to try to find the easiest way to appeal to or appease everyone. But in doing so, you may actually betray yourself, and that is not where you want to be, and it's not where the world needs visionary leaders to be. So, for example, if you are leading through a controversial issue or topic or circumstance, you will never appease or appeal to everyone, because controversy by nature is divisive. And often, not always, but often, the polar opposites of a controversial issue or topic, if you dig deep into why people feel the way they do and so adamantly, strongly feel the way that they do of that situation, you can dig deeper into their core values. And somebody else's core values may not align with yours, and that's okay. What's not okay is you not realizing that, being anchored in yours, and then therefore being wishy-washy. Susan G. Komen is a beautiful example of an organization, and I won't get into it now, but if you want to go research it, of an organization that was excelling. They were a foundation for breast cancer awareness, and they got into a controversy, and they made one statement, and then people were upset. So then they took it back and they made another statement, and then the other people were upset, and they just divided. It's like taking a knife to your audience, to your stakeholders, to the trust that you create with your stakeholders, right? And breaking that. And that's irreparable in a lot of cases. So knowing for your organization is one thing, but for you as a visionary, purpose-driven leader, you have to know what your core values are. And they become this anchoring, non-negotiable for your life, which allows you to lead and to live in alignment, which is the freest way to live, right? And when challenges arise and you don't know what the right answer is, your core values become that compass, become that northern star. So for example, I did this this morning. I sat down, and I know that truth, I know how I feel about truth. I know how deep it is in me. I know that truth, I'm constantly searching for truth, because truth is truth. Truth is undeniable. No matter if you look at it's so fun to me. I can find a truth, and then I'll look at it in one science, and I'll look at it from the lens of a different science or a different religion or a different scripture or whatever it might be. And it all comes to the same. Why? Because truth is truth. So for me, truth is safety. And that means that I am committed to aligning in whatever truth is, to accepting whatever truth is, no matter how challenging that might be, because my course of core values is truth, and finding and living by truth, not opinion, right? And give you an example. A few weeks ago, I was in a situation with Aaron, my significant other, and I just asked him for truth. And he held up a mirror, as your spouse should, held up a mirror and was telling me things that hurt me so much. He was doing it in kindness. It wasn't an act of unkindness. It was what I asked for. It's what I needed. And I remember sitting there and the truth, because he was speaking truth, the truth landing in my system, and it hurt. It was uncomfortable. It was things that I need to work on for myself, etc., right? Like, that's uncomfortable. And the tears were streaming down my face, and it was not hurtful. It was painful to hear, and I was so deeply grateful for the courage and the strength that it took for him to be able to hold up that mirror and speak truth to me in a way that would serve my evolution, my expansion, my growth, and me being more aligned with who I am here to be and how I want to show up in the world. Like, that, to me, that's everything, right? So when I look at it through the lens, I'll give you the example. So this morning I sat down and I was like, okay, I know that my course of core values is truth. What does that mean and why is that? So I got onto one of my custom GPTs and I started with that knows like all of my curriculum and all of most of my IP and different things, right? And I started asking it questions. I was like, okay, I'm going to do this live. I really want to be able to better identify and articulate my core values so I could use it as an example. And so I started talking and I realized, okay, so truth is my course of core values. And then if we want to do a framework, what protects truth? Courage, to me, right? So my other core values, courage, compassion, and kindness, because to speak truth to someone with an aim to harm them or hurt them, to weaponize that truth, that's against my core values. That creates pain and suffering, which, as you may know, is completely against what I'm here to do and what I believe in. And so you can be truthful and honest. Aaron, when he shared truth, when he held the mirror up and he was honest with me, truthful with me, I should say, he did it with so much loving kindness and compassion, right? Where I felt safe in it, even though it was uncomfortable. So that's really important. Humility, ownership, and wisdom, the looking at things through the lens of wisdom. So those to me are really important. So what does that mean? That means as a leader, when I'm faced with a challenge, or let's say that these are your core values too, just as an example, and you're leading your organization and there's a real big challenge that you have to lead through and you have to communicate through, or whatever it might be, you can say, if truth is a core value, then the question becomes, what is the truth of this situation, even if it's uncomfortable, right? It allows you to truly have the lens of, I'm going to understand, not avoid, not bypass, not blame, not shame, not deflect, all the things that Crisis Ready certainly doesn't stand for. But I'm going to get to the truth of this, even if it reveals something that's uncomfortable, because that will lead to our growth, right? And deeper connection. Your core values tie you on an emotional level to the people around you, to your stakeholders, to your community, to your family, to your friends, etc. So in all acts or facets of life. If kindness, because kindness and compassion is one of mine, is a value, then how do you move forward without creating unnecessary harm? Once you have the truth, how do you move forward without creating unnecessary harm? How do you be honest, or how do you be truthful and kind? They are not antonyms. I once said to somebody in an interview, they said, give me 2 words for your leadership style. And I'd never been asked that before. It was years ago. And I said, authoritative and kind. And their reaction was, how could that be? You can't be authoritative and kind. It's like, authoritative and kind, they're not antonyms. Of course you can be, right? It's through the lens. We do this in our drop-in. How do you open up the heart? How do you see the world and act and lead through the lens of the heart, rather than the fear and the ego that lives in the brain? Okay, and then lastly, if courage is a value, courage is a crazy deep value for me, what actions align with the truth, even if it's difficult? Right? So now you have, as these 3 examples, truth, compassion, and courage as 3 stated core values. And when you're faced with a challenge, how do you stay in alignment with who you are here to be and the deepest version of your leadership potential? How can you do that if you don't know what your northern stars are, if you don't have that internal compass, if you aren't anchored and able to protect the core of who you are, what you stand for, what you believe in, and what you're here to do as a result of that? So you could put every decision that you make that's a challenge through the lens of your core values, and that gives you solid foundation to stand on, unwavering. I say that in my intro, unwavering, whatever I say in my intro. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Unwavering steadiness. Your core values support you in standing in unwavering steadiness. And the last thing I will say that I will add to this is it is your responsibility as a leader to protect and adhere to, be in alignment with your core values at all time. That's what integrity is, right? So sometimes people will tell me, leaders will be like, okay, well, I want a culture of integrity. That's great, but what does that mean? Because you could be an evil, malicious person, right? And that's who you are, and that's who you want to be. And you act in accordance with that, then you're acting in integrity. So in integrity, in my opinion, and feel free to see it differently and share with me because I love these debates. In my opinion, integrity isn't a core value. Integrity is a commitment to act in alignment with your core values at all times, no matter what those core values are. Being true to you and being truly you. So I invite you, we're going to do a drop-in now, and I invite you to think about this and really to answer these questions for yourself. What are your personal core values? And one way to go about that is if somebody does something that really, really gets under your skin, like it is the thing that like, if you could change in the world, or if you could change this type of behavior so that it just wasn't there. Not that that's your responsibility to, nor is it in your power to do, but if you could, what would that be? And then once you identify that, dig deeper into the whys. Why is that? Why do you feel that way? What's at the crux, the foundation, the core of why you feel that way? There's likely a very deep intrinsic core value sitting at that core. So that's a way, if you're like, I don't know what my core values are, I don't even know how to begin to know this, start there. That's one of the things that we teach in our Visionary Leadership Mastermind program. Okay, let's do a drop-in. So a drop-in, for those of you who are new, welcome. A drop-in is just getting into coherence. It's getting into alignment. It's getting out of our analytical mind, which is where fear and doubt and worry and stress and anxiety and all those things exist, and getting into the calm, clear clarity. That's not an oxymoron, but it doesn't go together. Anyway, the calm clarity that exists in your body, which also is tapping into, in other episodes, I talk about the 3 intelligence centers. We have our brain, we have our heart, we have our gut, each an intelligence center. Most leaders lead only by their brain because that's what society has taught us to do. So this gives us access to the other more wise, the other wiser, the other intelligence systems that have way more wisdom than the brain. The brain is simply a processor. It's simply meant to be a processor, not to be your northern star, nor what you only lead from. Okay, so all we're going to do is we're going to breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth. All you have to do is get comfortable, listen to my voice, listen to your body. If I say something but your body is like, oh, if I did this it would feel actually better, do it. Your body knows the answers, knows the way, and the practice here is deepening your connection with your body and your intuitive knowings. So trust those, go with them, get curious. There is no wrong way to do this. This is simply a practice to deepen connection with self, connection with source, and therefore deeper resonance and connection with those you're leading. Today, if you would like to set an intention, I invite you to set the intention to feel into, not think about, feel into your deepest core value. Just kind of put that question out of, what is my deepest core value? And we're going to just breathe and see where you go with it. Have fun with it. Okay, if you are driving or doing something where you cannot shut down your eyes, please don't do this now. Come back to the recording, YouTube, LinkedIn, and anywhere you listen to your podcasts from. If you are in public and you can take a few minutes to settle into yourself, to connect with yourself, but you feel silly because there's people around, invitation to feel silly and do it anyway. Lead by example. Gift yourself these 10 minutes. All right. Shutting down your eyes or softening your gaze, whatever feels most comfortable for you. And let's just start breathing. Let's start that breath. So it's in through the nose, out through the mouth. In through the nose, out through the mouth. In through the nose. And on your next exhale out through the mouth, invitation to follow that breath all the way down your body. So feeling it fall deeply into your body, to your chest, into your belly, and all the way down into your sit bones. And following, taking your consciousness, your awareness, and feeling the sensation of the seat below you against your skin. Just kind of tell your mind, as you continue to breathe, flow that breath in through the nose, out through the mouth, and ask your mind, your awareness, to just feel the different places that you feel the seat that you're sitting on against your skin. And what you're doing here is you're practicing choosing where your awareness comes from. And that's an important skill. Notice the safety of that chair in the sense that it won't drop you. It's got you. You can sink more deeply into it. You can offload some tension into it. It won't mind. And it won't drop you. And that means that in this moment, you are safe to be present. You are safe to let go. You are safe to feel. And you are safe to breathe. Keep that breath flowing. And on your next inhale through the nose, let's bring that awareness up with the breath from the sit bones. Raise it up, up, up to your heart space. And let's let your awareness land in your heart center. So you're still breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. Mechanically, that's what you're doing. And awareness-wise, you are imagining that your breath is coming in through your heart space. So you're expanding that chest cavity. You're taking in that breath through your heart. You're letting that feel so good because that is life force. This is your breath is your life force. And then with every exhale out through the mouth, you're allowing that breath to sink into your belly. And for that to feel safe, for that to feel good, for that to feel calming and relaxing. And that's the flow. In through the nose, opening up that heart space. That air is coming in through the heart. Pulling it in, expanding it. And then out through the mouth, letting that breath flow to the belly. We're creating this cycle. This cyclical kind of breath that allows you to deepen your connection with your body, with these two intelligence centers. It's extremely important. It also allows you to practice bringing your awareness to these two centers. One exercise that we do in the Visionary Leadership Mastermind is we really practice attuning from these different centers. Like, what does it look like? What does it feel like to enter a situation and to view it in real time from your heart rather than from your mind? Same goes, what does it feel like? What's the experience? To experience a situation from your gut, from your solar plexus. The experiences change because the intake changes. And that skill is developed by bringing your awareness to these different centers with your breath. So there's a deeper purpose in skills building, developing with this practice. Keeping that breath flowing. Letting it feel expansive and good and calming and peaceful. Just kind of exploring with it. And in our last few moments of breath, can you bring that question back up? What is your deepest of deepest core values? What's the first thing that comes? Maybe you hear an answer, maybe you feel an answer, maybe a memory comes to mind. Whatever that first instinct was, don't let your brain override it. Just follow it, just go with it, and explore it with open curiosity. If you want to write it down so you don't forget, we'll come back to it later. But often when we get still and we tap into our body's wisdom, we get different answers than we would otherwise if we were just thinking from our brain. And oftentimes those answers feel maybe a little awkward or unjustifiable or weird. And they're not. They're just different, and sometimes different is exactly the direction that we need to go on to find clarity and to find deeper truths and deeper answers, deeper alignment. So it's about getting curious about them rather than letting your brain say, oh, that's silly. That's not, let's not listen to that. And that in and of itself is a practice. It's a practice of deepening trust with the wisdom of your body and of your other two intelligence centers. And that is a really powerful, potent skill. Bringing a hand to your heart if you don't already have one there, and let's just take a moment of gratitude. You chose to take these 10 minutes for yourself. You can be grateful for that. You can be grateful to your body. You can be grateful for all the things. Just feeling that gratitude, breathing it in. Letting it expand you and help you feel even better, even more good. And when you're ready, wiggling your fingers and your toes and coming back to the screen. How do you feel? I'd love to hear, whether live or if you're listening or watching the recording. Before I let you go for the day, invitation to reflect on your core values today as a human. What are your core values? And what is your promise to yourself, your commitment to do your very best to always be in conscious alignment, which takes choice, which takes courage with those core values, especially when it's the most challenging to do so. Allowing them, how can you protect them? How can you protect yourself from second-guessing them or betraying them? Betraying your core values is betraying yourself. Betraying your core values is betraying yourself, and then therefore is betraying those you're leading, who you've aligned with, created emotional depth and connection with from those core values, from the place of those core values. So how can you commit to protecting them, to preserving your alignment in them, especially in the moments when others may challenge you or circumstances may challenge you to waver. This is a really, really important anchoring into you, into your connection with yourself, and into alignment with who you truly are, who you're here to be, and the mission you are here to lead. So it's a really, really great exercise. And it's not about what you think your core values should be, or what even you may have shared and said in the past that they are. You reserve the right to change your mind when you have more information, or maybe when you do a deeper dive and you discover more depth and even more truth, more wisdom, more alignment, right? So it's not about, just leave everything out from the past and really ask yourself, what are your core values? And what does that mean for your leadership, how you show up, how you lead, how you make decisions, especially when it's challenging? And how can you find the safety and the stability and the confidence to anchor into those core values and to never, ever, ever waver on them, no matter what the circumstance? All right. Thank you for joining me today. Thank you for choosing you. Thank you for doing this work. And I will see you tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. for another Morning Live with Melissa Agnes. Have a great day. Bye.